Hello, it's Friday the 11th of July 2025 and I've got news for you. By the way, first people in the thread, tell me if the mic's working or not so I don't waste time for you. Well, we all know yesterday ITVX and Disney publicised a new merger of their content, which we will discuss with a full, experienced, well-informed panel. It is also the moment I can start revealing bombshell insights from my media source. I have joked about having a source, and the humour's cool, but I wanted to start delivering, and tonight is when hopefully I start delivering. I will show you two tease quotes in a minute just to get you salivating. So settle in for this one, everybody. These are the topics and headlines we will cover, sprinkled with loads of insights from my media source to keep you fully informed and rewarded. ITVX and Disney Plus merger content, you know about that one. I'll give context. Mega terrestrial TVI player. Oh. Doctor Who bargaining chip or deal breaker. Amazon favourite to be in Doctor Who talks. Streamers learn from Disney mistakes. That's where I'm going tonight, folks. So knuckle down. Yes, I am the Source Whisperer. More of which in a moment. I am designated title, the Source Whisperer. And so tonight, although I've mentioned the source a fair bit, have I? More than being a former teacher. You're going to hear much more on the source talks tonight. So I said I've got a really good panel tonight. Now, haven't seen her for a while. Former media TV producer. Hello, Jo.
Hi, evening.
So she's going to really keep us right. She'll have interesting questions and insights. And he's done all the stuff. He's just waiting for that moment. He's an English teacher, but he's also wants to be a Hollywood screenwriter, and he's doing all the stuff. So he brings his experience to it. Hiya, Christian.
Howdy, howdy. Good to be here.
And I'm assuming my voice is all right at the moment, is it?
Absolutely stellar.
We've got a contingency plan, everybody, this time, and of course I've been recording with him already. But John, he's like a BBC family man. So here we go, John from Sci-Fi Chronicles 79. Hiya.
Hi, how you doing, everyone? All right. It's like I've done a few shows with you this week. It's what people don't realise is that I actually live in this box, and he just turns it on. Otherwise, I sleep in a void for the rest of the week.
Well, this is it. So I've been teasing, I suppose, by saying the word source. So I do need to actually kind of get to it, don't I? And actually start showing people just snippets of what we're going to get tonight. Because by God, there's a lot. So, as I said, I've appointed myself the Source Whisperer. So let's introduce that first. Nasty. So he's the first one then. I'll go big for this one just so you can read it first of all. So these are just teasers. I'm not giving you the main stuff yet. I'm not mad. Right, this is what the source said to me. Disney were out of Doctor Who after episode 1. Starbeast is what they're saying, because they make decisions from the first episode. They don't wait for episodes. They don't wait for 4. They would have been gone by the end. When they saw up to 10 minutes, people just went to the data that you're seeing in the leak. He said my leak was correct. And then they go back up through the data and they get the evidence they want. When they get that, they back it up because they are brutal. They are absolutely brutal. I mean, they kill off some of the best shows. So that's just a little sneak preview, Jo. Does that kind of ring true to you being in production?
Yes, absolutely. You'll have a few people keeping their whole always the money people, yeah, because they're the ones that you've really got to watch. If the smiles are going up or down, is the quiet money man at the back. But I am surprised that they were out after episode 1. That's huge. I mean, frankly, so was a lot of the viewers. I think a lot of the old fans, but that's an absolute corker.
Yeah, it's really weird. And while I get Christian's viewpoint very quickly, I can see there's no thread at the moment, so I'll just continue, folks. We'll endeavour to see why that's happening. Christian, your thoughts?
Well, I guess it makes sense in that you have professionals whose jobs are to look at the viewing figures, the audience reaction, and they can probably see the signs of both success and failure, the writings on the wall. So if they've honed that skill that sharply to such a fine point, they can tell a certain number of minutes in whether it's going to be a winner or a loser. And they're going to make decisions predicated on that. I'm surprised that it's that early in the run process. But if we consider the fact that this is their livelihood, I guess we shouldn't be surprised.
So let me just confirm, and yes, Jamie's telling me there is a thread, and you're very lively. I am blind; I can't see it.
I've got it coming up on mine.
Will you be able to, John? Just a quick, if there's any super chats or anything like that, will you be our go-to man, please? Because I don't.
Yeah,
like
of course. Yeah, no
I
problem.
don't like to be rude to anybody. And if you see any tasty quotations, John's going to help me here, unless it appears again. I'm sorry about that.
Well, I see Garbage said another good-looking panel, and I think that just blew out the internet, to be honest with you. So, thanks, Garbage. It's all your fault, mate.
Garbage, he shouldn't be here. He's got his family, the swine. So, John, what do you think? I mean, honestly, my source said they were out by the end of Star Beast.
Well, I was actually going to ask you. I'm assuming you're talking about transmitted from Star Beast, because
I'm guessing
if they'd seen it before broadcast, I could see them being out at that point. To be honest, because it was that terrible. But I mean, it doesn't surprise me, because with a show, whatever show it is, you expect it to start strong with a strong episode, and for them to see that he's actually started his run with Star Beast, if you take away the Christmas special, that is a massive indictment of the quality that Disney, after forking out a lot of money, we're going to get. And they obviously at that point, they thought, well, we're not going to get a return financially on this, are we? The investment shot. So I can understand it.
So, by the way, everybody, that is just a teaser. I'm taking that as a given. So, my next teaser is this one, and this really just kind of is nice and vague, but this is what the source said. It's over. It's finished. They're all ready. Ooh, what's that about? Oh, it's over. So, whatever we were discussing, it's over. It's finished. They're all ready. That one's going to be a very tasty one tonight about the television landscape, everybody. Okay? So there's a lot of insight about what's going on in TV, and this will really impact on Doctor Who's future. So honestly, that's my tease, but there's more. These are just the boring bits. Whoa. So, of course, the one that everybody has started to discuss, so we'll give our viewpoint on it, because it feeds into a lot of stuff. ITVX and Disney Plus, they kind of merged content, didn't they? Which actually was a bit interesting, because you think, well, Disney's just been dealing with Doctor Who, and they haven't commissioned season 3. And then they suddenly go with ITVX. I mean, Joe, did this surprise you?
No, I think there's been a bit of a problem with the UK market from Disney Plus. I don't think they were doing too well with subscriptions here, and I think this is a very concentrated plan to try and get in the more established UK market. I mean, the whole thing about getting Doctor Who with Disney Plus was to try and make it international. So there's a problem with the UK market right now, I think. And oh gosh, I'm just repeating myself.
No,
but
don't worry.
I think that's basically what it was. Is the numbers were not great here, and they're not doing well here. From what I know, they're really struggling at Disney Plus. So this isn't, it's not a surprise, but I think it could be quite messy.
One thing I was told, Joe, I was moving. Jamie's brought my other laptop so I can see the thread. So I'm trying my best. But John, keep an eye on me as well. But Christian, I asked the source about this because this was a new announcement. So the source talks every day. It's fantastic. And they said ITVX and Disney Plus was an interesting one because they're both it's the younger content that works. So basically, this was a good matchup because of the young content for both channels and the young audiences they have.
Well, it makes sense if you can find a resonance between Disney and ITVX that services a targeted audience, a demographic that's receptive to what they generate. It's a winning situation. But again, there's always a problem with how do you operate an extended catalog for something like Doctor Who, which is now split over multiple forums. I don't know how that's resolved.
If I can just add in there as well, I mean, first of all, I just wanted to follow in from what Joe was saying about Disney Plus. Joe's 100% right on that, you know, about they're struggling, but it's also worldwide because I watch like the quarterly returns on like shows like Valiant, Renegade, and WDW Pro, and you know the subscriber numbers are falling by a large amount every quarter, and they keep massaging the figures to try and push some into the following quarter. The other thing that you've also got to take into account is since Disney Plus was set up, they are yet to make a profit. They are billions in debt. Okay. The other thing is you also had the director and producer of Andor come out a few weeks back, and he said on record, he said, we cannot afford at Disney now to make these type of Star Wars and Marvel shows anymore. So what happens? You have to then do strategic partnerships. And as people were predicting a few years ago when they launched this streaming wars stuff, there are only going to be a few main players left over. Now, those players for certain now, it's going to be Netflix, and I would say it's probably going to be Amazon Prime and Apple that potentially come out of this. So it makes sense, but essentially what they're doing now, they're almost doing deals and almost going back to the old cable network and setup that we had a few years ago because their profiles faded.
Well, let me just introduce, lots of people are joining us all the time. If I'm looking that way, I can see the thread, I can see super chats, I can see comments, and I'll prove that in a minute. As John was saying, there's a lot to discuss tonight. So if you've just tuned in and you're going, oh, they're waffling on about ITVX and Disney Plus, that's the starter. The big news comes from that with all my source material. So stick around, but obviously I want to do things right. This is the context. So basically the news was, of course, ITV and Disney Plus announced new content sharing partnership. The Walt Disney Company and ITV announced today a new first of its kind initiative, a bit like what John's saying, that things have to change. And to prove I have been seeing the thread, sorry, I'm seeing a lot of things at the I can actually read out, you know, Stephen O'Neill, the Doctor Who audience should be nominated for the George Cross for what they had to watch the last 8 years. So there's an example. I can see some of the thread, and thanks for that. And I will endeavour to bring you all in. And I'm trying to make you feel happy about old shots in the meantime. Anyway, the exciting initiative brings together two of the UK's most recognisable entertainment brands to expand viewer choice and celebrate the best of British and international storytelling. Well, that's the blather. Let's get into some of the nuts and bolts. Obviously, Doctor Who production said, what does this mean for Doctor Who? Now, we're going to answer that question a lot more a little bit later. This is just our kind of, you know, this is just our kind of starter. So please, everybody stick around. I'm answering that question, by God am I. But I'm starting with where we were yesterday. So let's get to it on the actual Disney Plus thing, and I'm intrigued to hear what the panel and the thread says. So starting 16th of July, refreshed selection of hit shows and movies from Disney Plus. The agreement showcases ITV and Disney's world-class content to each other's complementary audiences. Disney Plus customers in the UK will be able to stream some of ITV's content, and it gives a list there. So makes sense. Everything okay? What's going on in your head, Joe, regarding what this is doing?
Well, as a consumer, I'm getting fed up. You know, I pay for Sky, I pay for Netflix, I pay for Disney Plus, I pay for Apple because I'm addicted to content. There's a lot of people going to have to consolidate their bills and figure. You know, you pay all these subscriptions and then you got to watch a film and you still got to buy it for some reason because it's not on any of those subscriptions. So that's as a sort of consumer point of view, it's getting very confusing and financially very difficult, actually. And I think people are just getting fed up with it. From a sort of professional point of view, I think worldwide television is struggling to compete with YouTube even. I mean, people who never had access to make content are now accessing and making phenomenal content. That's not TV production, but it's, you know, some of it is worthy to be on TV. It's absolutely fantastic what people are putting up. So in general, the whole landscape of entertainment is changing. Specifically for this is, it does reek a little bit of desperation, back to what John was saying, that Disney Plus is in deep trouble.
Yeah.
I think a lot of television is in trouble right now.
And that's
Content.
going to, sorry, Joe, that's going to really play into our second headline tonight. So if I just remind everybody, so Joe has been in the industry. She knows what she's talking about. I mean, I don't want to interrupt her at all, really, but that's going to lead to our second point big time. Christian, I've got from America, and actually in the thread, somebody was saying, what does this ITV partnership mean for BritBox in the USA? I mean, have you got any thoughts on that one, Christian?
Well, I've got access to BritBox through Amazon Prime, and it's a nice addition because it channels specific British content through that forum. But this always comes back to the big question: how many streaming platforms are viable? And the healthiest platforms are those that are not in-house productions, i.e., Netflix or Amazon can mine studios and other sources for content, and they've got a broad array of selections available. Whereas if you're trying to do what most of the streamers were doing, which was an in-house top to bottom control, we're going to put the movie in the cinema, then we're going to put it on our streaming service exclusively, which is predicated on a limited number of potential subscriptions. And for the consumer, you have X number of dollars. It's limited. You can't decide, I'm going to get a subscription to 20 different streamers so I can enjoy different content. So the best format is through something like BritBox in the case of Amazon, so that in America we have access to that particular product line.
Now,
it makes sense, but it does indicate that Disney Plus is continuing to struggle because they're trying to find a partnership that they can graft themselves onto that will reach more viewers and generate more revenue for themselves. Obviously, what they've done previously has not worked.
Now, before we even started the stream, Joe straight onto it was asking, well, what does this mean regarding the Disney content of Doctor Who? And of course, we will try and unravel this tonight, because one beautiful thing about meeting the source and discussing this in depth and give me a hell of an insight was they actually suggested, and we're going to do it a bit later, where with these savvy people here on my panel and the thread, we're going to be put into a situation. We're going to simulate a situation regarding, if you're a media producer, BBC commissioner, and you're a streamer, how do you negotiate the Doctor Who situation with the factors we've discussed tonight? So it's going to be a tasty one, folks, because I think by playing it out, we might realize how complicated, messy, or easy this is going to be. And Jo was on it straight away, because she said, well, what about season 1 and 2? So John, season 1 and 2 Disney, that's going to have to always be negotiated separately, because Disney's not just going to give the content away.
Well, there's something else that I wanted to drop in that was announced the last few days that I saw. I don't know if anyone else has seen, but the Doctor Who library that is on HBO.
Yes.
That's coming to an end imminently. So again, that's all to play for someone else to pick it up. So this is all very interesting now on where that's going to head to. If I was a betting man, I would probably say Amazon myself. I could see them picking that side of it up. But I will say there was a comment from Jess, and she did say about all of this. She said, stateside, they will love some of the original English dramas. and films, that will be a definite bonus. So I do think that Disney Plus are getting the better end of the deal here, because from what I've seen in some of the articles, it's like I say, the Marvel and the poor Star Wars series and things like that are coming to ITVX, whereas you know, you're getting good drama from ITV going on to Disney Plus. So things like Endeavour and things like Inspector Morse and stuff like that, that I think a lot of worldwide audiences and certainly American audiences would be interested in watching. So yeah.
So I'll lead us through, because we're going to get the Doctor Who content. We're going to get the media insights tonight. This is just what I know you've all been told by other streamers and you've read yourself. So I am really just laying it in here on the context. So at the same time, ITVX viewers will be introduced to a rotating rail of Disney Plus shows, blah, blah, blah. The selection in coming months includes, and it just gives you a list there, whether you like it or not. So basically, as we've said, you know, they're swapping content for each other. It's all about content and filling your platforms now. The agreement builds on the strong evolving relationship. I bet Jo hears this in her sleep when she was a producer. You know, it's all blather, blather, blather. So yeah, they'll love each other. They have a very strong relationship, and it will go on forever. Da da da. So you hear from Disney Entertainment, we're so proud of this innovative collaboration. Oh, I bet you are. You've just arranged it. Then Kevin Ligo on the ITV side, they're fantastic partners, and this is all going to work, and whoopee-doo. So there you go. I mean, in essence, there's an experiment going on. They think it's amazing innovation. We all smell desperation. We all smell that actually it's a bit like... and I think John and Joe will know this better from on the British template, which we had. ITV was split into Granada, Tyne Tees, Border. Oh, we had quite a lot of different companies. Southern, I could go on. And in the end, during the Mrs. Thatcher government, they ended up starting to eat each other. And in the end, we ended up with just ITV. And all those little regional networks just disappeared, sadly. I feel as though we're doing something similar, Joe, with the streamers.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's a bit of a cycle repeating itself, and I think it's coming back to the several points as the world has really, I don't know if you guys have also felt it, but the world since COVID has really, really changed, and it's affected entertainment big time. I mean, I never anticipated a lot of the DEI kicking off like it did, and Marvel movies, I never saw them go in that direction that they did, and it failed in terms of movies. And television also, definitely with Doctor Who, as we all know, followed in that direction. And there's just a lot of chaos out there, and I think very few production companies anticipated DEI not working, maybe. I think they were all convinced it would. Worldwide, and then the political landscape in America changed, and also to a degree I think in the UK it's changed a little bit too. And because things are planned so far in advance, sorry, we're sort of getting the tail end of all the stuff, the productions that were made round about that time, and they're just falling off cliffs. So it's been quite a while we've had good content, so viewers are walking off for those reasons. How do we get them back is what a lot of production companies are going to be asking now, because we're competing with YouTube, we're competing with all sorts of things now. Kids are on TikTok. How are we going to get the kids back? You know, it's a fascinating time for TV production, but it's also a total nightmare, I think.
And therefore very ruthless and cutthroat, much more than even before. As my source said, it's brutal. They're going to be brutal. They're not going to hang around a bad smell of a series for long. So, I mean, I'm just showing you various kind of feedback on what people are saying. Everybody's got guesses about, well, what does that mean? But basically, that's just to give you some context, because obviously I've teased the big stuff is coming exclusively from my source. So, as John mentioned, obviously the context so far is the ITVX and Disney Plus. Doctor Who is officially leaving HBO Max on July the 31st. So there's an awful lot of tectonic plates starting to move. On top of that, we know that recently Tom Spilsbury, who obviously talks to people in the media and in TV, ex-Doctor Who magazine editor, said Just to give you all the context, and then I'll show you my content proper. I suspect the show will indeed come back at some point, but as of right now, nothing's commissioned, nothing's guaranteed. We're in that limbo where people are checking each other out, people are kind of nudging each other. There's a legal contract, people might make a pitch. It's all like that. I'm hearing lots of different things. I mean proper information, but the thing is, nobody can say anything officially. Everything is moving much more slowly in TV at the moment, says Tom Spilsbury. On the assumption that Disney doesn't renew before its option expires, that will be the point when the BBC can start to shop. Sorry, I can't speak. To shop the show around, and that process could take fair bit of time. That's the tricky bit, isn't it? We're in that bit where who does what when. I bet you this is kind of giving you nightmares, Joe. This is reminding you of all what it was all like.
It's heartbreaking for me because, you know, I always wanted to work in TV, and it was because of Doctor Who, largely, and Star Wars, and I've just seen it kind of crumble into. I mean, we got access to all this new technology, all these editing things. All the world got, you know, everyone could get involved, and you could have open calls for scripts, and TV could be so exciting right now. I would have rather involved, you know, Japanese sci-fi guys. I would have loved to see what they might have thought of Doctor Who. You know, I would have changed the world in different ways. So I'm just a bit frustrated, but hopeful if we can get our senses back, and maybe take the time just now to really focus on this new future TV, which is a global audience, hopefully, yet, you know, retain our British. You know, Britain's made such good TV, so how do we retain that, appeal to the world, and let's get it back on track and look at where we went wrong. We know where it went wrong. A few people will admit it and won't say it out loud, but we know where it went wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
Can I
go on.
add something quickly? Thank you. I completely agree with what Joe said. And I think also going back to the pandemic, when you're talking about the streaming models, the whole model for this whole streaming operation for the last few years has been built on a false premise, because during lockdowns, they had a captive audience and they were seeing record subscriptions, record profits at that time. And they thought, we're on a winner here. But realistically, it was a false projection, because as soon as people came out of lockdown, you started seeing the quality diminish in the productions that they were putting out. And then people started getting wise to it, kind of what Joe was alluding to a few minutes ago, where effectively it's getting too expensive. So people are going, do you know what? I'm only going to watch Disney Plus for that series, so I'll unsubscribe from it the second I finish with it. And people are getting more savvy with it. The other thing that shows you that they're struggling a lot more now is they're putting adverts on their shows now, on their subscription models. So they're basically charging you a higher tier to have no adverts, but they're still putting adverts in anyway, which again shows it's going back to where it was before. And I would just finish by saying it's not the cause of the DEI stuff that we've had the last few years, but it's certainly added to it, because I think there was a complacency by studios and production companies that they thought, well, we've got a captive audience, we can do and put out whatever we want. And that's when this flourished a lot more over the last few years. That's my opinion. I've got no evidence to back it up, but that's what I think's happened.
Well, I actually, John, I think it's a sound observation. There's limited room in broadcasting media for endless original content. Say 100 different studios with 100 different channels, all charging the same prices for the content. Eventually, the studios start to consume each other, start to consolidate, and the winners come out on top. You saw that with the regional affiliated setups in the UK that ended by the end of the 80s as they started to consolidate, and you had one survivor there. We're probably going to see the same thing in America, because all of these secondary attempted streaming platforms, you won't remember this. There was a network in America that was, I think Paramount was trying to create their own network 25 years ago. Didn't last. There wasn't room in the marketplace for it. So things will ultimately have to consolidate into a form that people want. And just as Joe had pointed out, during the lockdowns, where everyone was trying to go to streaming and take advantage of the captive audience, that was the if there was a time for someone to capture that audience and keep them, that meant at that time they had to put out quality content. They chose not to put out quality content. They just put out content. And to make matters worse, there was a layer of identity politics on top of the content, which antagonized the audience even further. So it's amazing. There was this opportunity 5 years ago, and it was squandered.
Well, this is the time we're in. This is when Doctor Who is not getting commissioned by Disney at the moment, and this is the world we're in. So we've got Woodhouse 122. There is plenty of good UK drama productions at the moment, but just not being made by the BBC. Rob Fellow's sad that now it's been trashed. The show is being passed around streamers like an unwanted sandwich at a rubbish party. It's worse than that, Rob. Yeah. You've got Dalek Lives Matters, who said something, and I wanted to say it a bit earlier, but let's have a look. I'm trying to move so many things at the same time. I'll come back to it. Sorry, Dalek Lives Matter. Good to see Stephen and Jeannie Frith again. Farsight as well. It's been bandied around streamers, and I'm not sure if any of them would be good for Doctor Who. I think we're beyond even having any choice. I really do.
Yeah, I think those days are gone, aren't they?
So I'm going to move straight to the kind of the tasty content, because I don't like to tease people too far. That's not fair. It's not my style. So the first one is right. So let's just get into it. So we know HBO, bang, ITVX, Disney Plus. We know that everybody is wondering whether they should make a pitch for Doctor Who. Now, here come all the complications. So the first one is, according to my source, as John was saying, Amazon thinks Amazon is the favourite for the Doctor Who talks, because we've all heard about these leaks. So here comes the detail, as I have been promising. So first of all, I'll go big. It's definitely not HBO. I can tell you that. They're not. It's not HBO Max. And it's not. Remember, when the source was talking to me a week or so back, so they've already given me the insight there. And it's not Netflix. They are cutting back massively on content. All right. And then it's the only one I think it could be possible is Amazon, because Amazon are the only ones with the money, with the pockets to buy a catalogue and to do it. No one else can afford it. So is that so far sitting with where you think, Joe?
I would agree with that from what I've heard. I've only personally heard a little bit regarding Amazon and movies, not so much television, but that would definitely match up financially with what I've heard is old Jeff's the man with the money at the moment.
Yeah, it's, I mean, just to remind everybody, as John wants to come in, but basically the source told me loads, and I was sitting on some of it, because you can't do it every day. They'd already told me about the HBO thing before it was even announced, so you can see that as a comment there. My friends here know that I talked to the source originally a week or so back, so this is all insight there. And then, of course, saying Amazon's the only one with the big pockets now, John.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. I think there were two people in the two studios in the room that could do something, and that was Amazon and Apple. Really, I mean, they it's pocket change to them to put out a Doctor Who production. I do think, I saw some comments in the chat. It's like Paul Tosland. I'll just read out. No one is going to want Doctor Who. The only free shows I watch on BBC or any terrestrial or Call the Midwife, the Paradise franchise, and Eurovision. For me, I think that we are at a point now, as Brendan alluded to a few minutes ago, and I don't know what you guys think, but where we need to, that horse has already bolted. But my view also would be that the BBC, they have done such a poor control of the franchise over the last 10 years at least, that they should abdicate any responsibility going forward. I think whoever it is, whichever studio, whichever production company it is, if you've got a good production team that go in there and they show respect to the history of any franchise that they take over, they're going to do fine. I mean, for me personally, an example I give is look at the destruction of what happened with Star Trek and what's been happening under Kurtzman. But you had Terry Matalis, who came in and did Star Trek Picard season 3 on, for Hollywood equivalents, did it on a shoestring budget and made something extremely enjoyable. So you can still have people to do it, you know, without a doubt.
As I bring in Christian, Rob Fellow says, forget the streamers, make Who cheaply in the UK with a committed new team. Rob, what I'm understanding is the BBC aren't going to do that. They're going to go bigger. They really are going to make sure they dabble with this. And there's a reason for that, and it's my other headline. So as Christian's, I'm going to bring him in. I've just got a few other things to say. Anthony Parkinson, Amazon have the sales data for the Blu-ray and DVDs going back decades. They're ridiculously well informed about the show. Cybermat strikes. Amazon will probably only want to acquire the IP and sit on it. Let's hope not. Simon Mills, Doctor Who is dead, guys. No coming back from this. Simon, that's not my understanding at all. My understanding is there were up to... I didn't count, but it sounded as though there's an awful lot of different companies considering making pitches, attaching themselves to different streamers or production companies. So my understanding is the opposite, but it might be extremely laborious and time-consuming and complicated. Christian, your thoughts?
Well, the question is how long you can keep people interested in acquiring a property so that they can market it and profit off of that arrangement. Amazon strikes me as the strongest potential based on what we're hearing, partly because of diversification. One of the problems with a standard Hollywood studio is if they don't have their fingers in other pies, i.e. merchandise, touring, parks, whatever, they don't have any way to consolidate and move money around if there's a shortfall in the production. Amazon doesn't have that problem. They are entertainment secondarily to the other business model that they market. So they've got the capacity to make it work. A lot of people are going to want to be a part of the process because the reality is Doctor Who is a legendary IP. It's a tentpole. It's a flagship. So if you can somehow rehabilitate it and take advantage of a relationship to profit off of it, I can see a lot of people trying to come to the fore.
I will depress you. I will depress you because one of my future shows, with insight from the media sources, that the BBC almost are contemptible how they treat Doctor Who, with lots of insight. So yeah, John, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that there was a comment in the chat. I think it's from Craig Dunlop, and saying Amazon showing respect to the legacy of Doctor Who ? Look what they did to the legacy of J.R.R. Tolkien. I will say that was under Jennifer Sulky, who has now left, who was terrible. But I will say, with regards to Doctor Who, it is very much similar now to, I mean, another example is what they've just done with Bond. They weren't getting on with their Broccoli estate. They just bought the Broccoli estate out. So that says to me, if Amazon did want Doctor Who, they wouldn't just get the new production. They would have savvy people who would basically go, yeah, we'll give this money over, but we're taking control and we're going to take the library.
Yeah. Well, John's rehearsing one of the things we're going to do a bit later as a thread and as a panel, where basically we're going to be in a simulation that the media source set up for us regarding costs and everything. Joe, you wanted to come in.
I was just wondering, I'm not sure who, having listened to the last bits of conversation, I'm just trying to figure out who is the person at the BBC. You know how we discussing that they've done a very poor job. Yes, they have. It was my impression that whoever is the decision maker at the BBC had Russell T Davies come in. Oh, guys, it's all in safe hands. I brought it back from the dead. You know, he's crap. And I think he's a very convincing man. I think he convinced Disney. I think he convinced BBC that it was in good hands. I'll take Doctor Who. I'll take it to Wales. We'll get on with it. Don't worry about a thing. And obviously that failed. So my thinking and question is, who is the person at the BBC who is holding Doctor Who's future in their hands? Do they have the sense to hand it over to someone, like you said, that did a great job fixing what they possibly could have Star Trek, which was dismantled, Doctor Who's now dismantled, how can they discern who is this person, because they are so important to discern the future of good Doctor Who?
Joe, unfortunately, in my future stream, I may depress you massively. I'm sorry about that. But in the meantime, I'll try and cheer everybody up for a second while we're ready for...
Oh, no.
Lynx, Hecky Thump, what's wrong, Grandad? Don't you want a kebab from that takeaway booth?
That's no takeaway booth, you wet wipe. That's a Suntaran scout ship. A Suntaran experiment. Typical sense sphere.
There you go. Just to give you a flavour, get nostalgic in a Who Pet sort of way. So we talked about HBO. It's probably Amazon, but here we go. It starts to get very tasty now, everybody. Source. And I'm not convinced that the BBC will sell Doctor Who. I'm not convinced that they'll even go there, because they may look at it and say, we're not giving that away because in 3 years we're merging with ITV and we need it. So the other complication, everybody, and that's, remember, in a moment I'm going to jump to it, so I'm not going to tease you about the mega terrestrial TV iPlayer, and the whole landscape is going to change. But this is my teaser on this one, Joe and Christian, and I think John's still there. I'm not convinced the BBC at this point are going to sell Doctor Who. And remember, they can only grab streamers really and their budget if they now give their back catalogue. Come on, it's got to be give and take, and we'll do that simulation a bit later. So in these next few years, why would the BBC even play ball with anybody, Joe?
Because they might lose their funding if we get rid of TV license, because there's a big movement on for that, isn't there?
Yeah.
I'm not au fait with the sort of viewing figures and the state of play with BBC. I assume it's not that fantastic. That's very interesting what he said there. We're merging with ITV and we need it. That's really enlightening, actually.
And what's interesting, Christian, is we hear the news yesterday, ITV X and Disney Plus, and then you go, all right, so what I heard from the source doesn't, but no, but that it's little pots doing little streams for now and little kind of groupings. But and I will show you in a minute the big plan. Oh, you've got to, and well, go on, Christine. You come in.
I was about to say, can any of us here think of any other sci-fi property that's got 62 years of history under its belt that someone can capitalize on? So on that basis, I would be very reluctant if I were the BBC to give it up unless there was an incredible windfall of opportunity that came of it. So I can see them wanting to hold on to it to make use of it at some point in the future. The question is, can they somehow reach a point where they consolidate all classic, new Who, Disney Who under a single banner going forward for content?
I think the trouble you got as well with the BBC, the BBC have been known over the last decade at least of they've made stupid decisions based on diversity. I mean, as an example, they, look what happened, what they did with Top Gear. That was one of the massive franchises for the BBC. Where is it now? It went to Amazon, where they did the Grand Tour. And they're now doing Clarkson's Farm, which are big money makers for them. And they're arguably some of the most successful shows that they've had on Amazon. They've also with Match of the Day now. I mean, Match of the Day is still there, but it's greatly diminished from what it was as a brand, purely because they've gone the DEI route with that now. So you have all of these things where the BBC could say that they're going to hang on to it, but the trouble is, you've got the same idiots making the decisions at the BBC that are not making a logical production and business sense decision. They're making a diversity, equity, and inclusion decision, which is a failure.
Right, just to make it, I'm checking so many things. Just to remind everybody, we do have super chats tonight, and the Who Pets are waiting in their Brisbane sweatshop.
Oh, no.
I mean, it's on fire. The thread is on fire. I shouldn't be saying that, but yeah, and I'm trying to keep up with it. So the big news is starting now, everybody, and there's the first bit, that why would Doctor Who be sold by the BBC in the next year or two when there's the renewal of the TV license up for negotiation, and we don't know if they'll have to go to a subscription setup and business plan, and my news that's about to come is also in play. This is a very, very tricky one.
Yeah.
I sorry, go on. What is it, John? Go on.
Yeah, so I mean, sorry, I was just going to follow in on basically the Doctor Who, and it being sold. I was just going to say as well, look, these days, everything also has its price. If Amazon have got big money pockets or Apple have got big money pockets, they'll do what they need to do, and a deal will be had, no doubt. But let's be honest, the BBC aren't making a great amount of money off of Doctor Who at the moment anyway, are they?
No,
No,
I think merchandising. Remember, at one point the merchandising was quite phenomenal, and
Yeah.
I
And now
think
they're
there's-
selling pins.
Yeah, you know what, and that breaks my heart too, because you go
Yeah.
to a Comic Con, you want the latest TARDIS.
we
Sorry,
see
I'm fangirling again, but it's all dead. The
They were
next Comic
saying-
Con I'm looking.
they were saying this about San Diego Comic Con, though, weren't they? They were saying that actually nobody's using the big hall. That there's a kind of a malaise about Marvel and all the rest of it. So let me just have a quick look. Jess, let us not forget, Brendan, viewers. The Royal Charter is due for renewal. I know this is the big one. Why would you sell one of your prize assets? Because their prize asset is the back catalogue of Doctor Who. And that's what's coming into play. Right, no more teasing. You can see what's going on here. Here we go, folks. I think you're gonna time code this bit. Right, here we go. So the mega terrestrial iPlayer idea. I've put BritBox up there as just an example. Right, so here we go, folks. Buckle in. So this is the media. They can't survive. They're going to be dead. Who the hell is going to pay for all these streamers in Britain? They need constant content. So there's our starter for 10. Let me just be very clear here. This is a media insider in meetings every day. ITV, BBC, etc. can't survive. They're going to be dead. Who the hell is going to pay for all these streamers in Britain? And they need constant content. I'll go one more slide and then I'll get feedback. Not that one. Get this makeup applied. Right. Okay. It's all going to be coming into one consolidated place. Make them a heavyweight. They make them a heavyweight to compete with Netflix and Amazon, because if they don't, they will not survive. And that changes the Doctor Who decision, doesn't it? Whoa. Joe, is this the first time you've thought and heard this?
It absolutely is, but it makes absolute perfect sense, doesn't it? Going back on all my thoughts on it all being struggling so much, I think it's a solution, isn't it? But who's going to run it again? Who's going to be at the top of this tree? Because if it's a rotten top of this tree, it's not going to work either. So I'd like to know who would be the top lot. Is it just going to be the top lot that's already there, but they'll just move over because they're not working? So who's going to run it?
It's starting to make me think that actually nobody knows who's going to be top dog, and you need to make very ruthless, careful decisions now. If you're head of BBC, head of ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5, the lot, you are going to have to play very careful, because if you delay, you could be gone. And so they are very aware that everything is fluid. Now, tonight's stream is about Doctor Who, everybody, but we cannot talk about the future of Doctor Who without understanding this situation. Who is going to negotiate and buy Doctor Who, and who is going to sell Doctor Who when in the next few years all this is happening, Christian?
Well, that becomes, again, the big problem. We've talked about everyone trying to go to streaming. The market doesn't support it. So various studios and streaming organizations are having to consolidate into smaller numbers, but everything is fluid at the present time in the UK, which is a bit different from the US. I'm not sure how the market is going to play itself out and who will end up solvent and on top when all of the consolidation is finished. But obviously, if anyone jumps too quickly, they overplay their hands. They may lose a lot of capital. If someone waits too long, they don't have the opportunity to compete. So there are a lot of moving parts, and I couldn't even begin to predict what it's going to look like on the other side of this.
So, John, it's very hard, this, and this is what the source made very clear to me. Brendan, who would sell Doctor Who at the moment when you don't even know if your license is going to be renewed in a few years' time? Who is going to be the commissioning editor who's going to do that? Because they'll be out of a job. You know, that he said that's a moving carousel as well. And so basically, it's one of those moments, John, when it's like when you're playing poker. As the BBC, do you reveal your hand on what you'd want to do them doing with Doctor Who, or do you have to wait? I mean, and we're going to do the role play later, but what do you reckon?
Oh yeah, I mean, certainly if that's the case, then it certainly makes sense of why you would pause things for a few years and you would play the bluff if we're going down the poker route. I would also say as well, though, that with me, I hear a lot as well about these companies saying about they're not able to survive. I get there's financial implications, but there's one thing that all these producers that have made daft decisions for such a long time have done. They've put out very, very poor and subpar content, or they call it content or programs. You make a success by making quality programs, and the reason why people are watching Netflix and Amazon and other streamers is because there is at least something on those streamers that engages the audience and they want to watch them. I can't remember, we've talked before, guys, I can't remember the last time I watched anything on BBC other than Doctor Who, and it was very rare that I was watching Doctor Who.
And that's why, I mean, I was shocked when I heard this, but that's why it makes sense if they want to survive, because nobody I've talked to is watching live TV. And so basically, you know, the BBC, ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5 know this. And it is survival. And, you know, I think you're going to have to club up with a bigger brand or an international streamer to just keep yourself in play. So this was the version that was mentioned. And there's more. There's more. Here we go. Something called iPlay. It'll be one destination, and that is happening. And it will happen in the next 5 years, 3 years. 3 years, it'll be announced. So, of course, this is the talk in the media. Obviously, they can't pin down a date. In the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to have one destination for all of terrestrial TV. As somebody said in the thread a lot earlier, this makes it an omni-channel. This makes it a big power player. If you had all of ITV content with BBC content and back catalogue, Channel 4 as well and Channel 5, it gives them a bit more weight to survive, number one, but it also throws into play, are you going to start negotiating Doctor Who now?
In negotiating Doctor Who now would be foolish if you've got such a huge landscape transformation coming. You don't know, you don't want to risk giving away something when you want something in your arsenal that you're going to be able to utilize down the road shortly.
Yeah, go on, John, and then
I was just going to add to what Christian said there. 100% agree with him on it. But you know, if you're an Amazon or you're an Apple, what do? You always push for a negotiation and a deal when you're the other side of the table is at their weakest. So I can certainly see why they're pushing for something potentially. Again, I've got no evidence to back that up, but certainly, yeah, it does make sense of why they could be stalling for a few years till they've got all their ducks in a row.
So, Joe, I mean, I know I keep coming back. Oh gosh, this is going to change everything, isn't it? It's just everything I've seen since I was born is going to change regarding TV. In other words,
I would love to see how this all plays out, because obviously that is a massive back catalogue going to be available.
yeah.
I mean, a formidable back catalogue. How's that going to be all put in order, and where's that going to live, and how's it going to be separated in catalogues? I'm just thinking though, how are they going to proceed with future content in such a sort of behemoth? Where's its identity? Because this is like many identities, and they're all coming together. But overall, how are they going to package this? I'm curious to. I'm curious. I'm curious.
I'm curious as well. Whatever they do, there has to be a formula where churn is allowed to happen. What is churn? Churn is the constant generation of content, but a feedback process with the audience viewing it. So those things that are successful, that resonate with the broadest demographic group, are renewed and continued, and those that don't strike gold are jettisoned. And that allows for a constant opportunity for things to float to the top that are good, that last. The problem with the last 5-6 years is, with the streaming wars and desperation for content, they totally disconnected the process of churn and said, we don't care what the public wants. We're just going to put out what feels impulsively good to us, and surely they'll suck it up. Well, whatever model they generate, if we've got this behemoth, it's going to have to allow for that qualitative generation. And what will it look like? Will they be receptive and responsive to their viewers?
So trying to bring in the thread. I mean, if there are super chats available, please, I will look out for them. But I think Doctor Who is dead right now, says Tom by Chick. It's going to take a few years before it drums up any successful public attention. Frankie, good to see you. Having a company like the BBC having thousands of staff needs to stop if other channels are... Well, can you imagine the cull? If ITV and BBC, I mean, my God, but it makes sense. Everybody think about it. ITV are cutting back on their daytime content, as an example. A lot of things are already changing. Loose Women, This Morning, Lorraine Kelly. The whole thing's changing. It is already starting. Anthony Parkinson, the BBC have done it to themselves. Their complacency and arrogance have brought about their weakness. Jess, thank you. Thinks there should be Who Pets and biscuits available, and that's very generous of you. I'll reward lovely Jess, who's got writing background herself, with and it's the Who Pets. Here we go. We've just had an extraterrestrial landing. Oh, it's an alien. It's Welsh. Oh, sorry. What?
Hermione, hello. Are you natives of the level 5 rock?
A level 5 rock? What the hell? Define a level 5 rock.
Well, level 1 is super sophisticated with sentient beings.
Okay. Cool.
Apparently, Yorkshire folk live there.
Oh, of course.
Level 10, absolute thugs, Neanderthals. Like, I think the planet's called Glasgow. Oh. I'm here to assess your faculties.
Oh,
I dare you.
John,
Good luck with that.
John, I need
Yes.
to do the synaptogen experiment with you.
Yes. Yes. Go
Ready?
then.
Go
can
then.
I just ask, because I've got skin in the game here. If John Specimen 1 failed the Synaptogen experiment, what would happen to him?
Oh, I'll show you.
What would happen to him? Oh, John. I'm in tender hooks here.
You can tell by your face.
Oh.
Whoa!
I failed the synaptogen test, and look what happened to me.
Well, you better clear off then if you
You
fail.
know what?
Yeah.
Oh, you really gotta stop the Ozempic right now.
Yeah.
Too much.
Typical sense sphere.
Yeah, no sense there. But thank you for that, Jess. That was really nice of you, feeling guilty having your clotted cream or whatever. So yeah, no, thank you, Jess. And there's more to come. So Ezra Goldstein has said, what's the news? Mike, where have you been? There's a lot of news. You might have to replay some of this one tonight because the big news is in the next 3 to 5 years, ITV, Channel 5, Channel 4, and BBC are going to be one destination. And then what do you do with Doctor Who? This is where we've got to. So I'll continue. My God, there's more. Right, I'll go bigger on this one so you can see it. It's already been planned, Brendan, behind the scenes. There's just no one's talking about it in public, but this is going to happen. So ITV, BBC iPlayer, all four, their streaming service. It's ITVX, can't remember the rest, Channel 5, all of them. They're all going to merge as one. They're all going to become one. There's already been planning on this now. They cannot survive on their own as a mega terrestrial, a mega digital. Now, I'm doing it verbatim, everybody, because I have talked to the source in person and also in a kind of Zoom chat and recorded it so that I can actually give you the absolute insight and not just say I've heard something from a tea lady. Joe, what are you thinking?
I'm quite excited, actually. Let's see how this all plays out. I mean, for the sake of British television, which I care about. When we started off, we were saying that the market was struggling. Disney Plus is struggling to get a foothold in the UK. This could be a fantastic thing. I'm fairly hopeful for it, actually. Just on hearing it, I'm hopeful, but not for the staff.
It makes sense with the logic. Paul Mabley's just said, absolute cobblers, where's this come from? Well, you know where it's come from. I can't declare my source, but it's not a tea lady. It's somebody really high up. But what else can I say, Paul? You've got to go with me on this one. I'm doing what the source has said, and I've held on to this, and I'm giving you verbatim. This is not tittle tattle. This is a whole chat that went on for 13 hours. So, Paul, you're going to have to just go with it or just think.
How did I know that we'd see Brendan in his autumn pecs again tonight? I knew that was coming.
I used to be a Paul. No. So, I mean, John, your family's BBC, your dad very high up in the BBC in the past, and you think, God, it's all coming to an end, really.
Yeah, again, there were great memories from my childhood. I loved the BBC, but it deserves to die. If it's going to be merged, then so be it. But I'm going to ask the question now, is this going to be a purely streaming platform, or are they going to effectively try and keep us paying a TV license, which I can see them doing that and effectively trying to charge us even more annually for it?
Well, the talk, of course, because you know what politicians are like, is that it'll be a bit of a hybrid. Still some license fee and some subscription of some BBC content. So they're budging that way. But you know how politicians, they might see the future, if we're lucky, but they won't get us there as fast as they can. They'll mess around. So there's an awful lot of cynicism and concern in the thread I can see. Tomboy Chick says, well, this was rumoured in a way years ago, but it's the logic. Then, I'm trying to see who mentions the ITV shareholders, Woodhouse 122. There's no way ITV shareholders would go along with that. But what if it's survival, Woodhouse? What if it's survival or die? Nobody's watching TV.
Well, if you stop and think about this kind of a consolidation, outside of the creative process, you still have layers of bureaucracy and management. So there's going to be a lot of duplication. So that means a lot of jobs are dispersed and eliminated so that you can streamline. And then the question is, how much original content will be generated and fed through the original channels that appear in this uniform iPlayer format?
So go on, John. Go on.
Sorry, mate. I would say though that as a counter argument to it, I think the BBC could carry on, but it shows it's a massive indictment of these idiots for the last 10 or 15 years that, you know, people in quango positions within the BBC that probably have very little input, but the amount of damage that has been done to something that was loved by so many people, it really is staggering. You could chop out a lot of that, and then you could actually get back to a point where, you know what, we're going to get rid of this whole diversity, equity, and inclusion nonsense. We're just going to make sure that we bring people in and we make sure we make the best possible productions possible. That's another way to make sure you sustain things, because as I said earlier, the streamers are dying. That there's only going to be one or two left when that's all said and done. You can go back and you can survive, because personally I think that things are going to revert back to how they were a few years ago with the cable setup. I really do see that happening again.
I do think this is the parallel with all the ITV regional companies, that they had to kind of, you know, coalesce and make a bigger brand, ITV. And this time we've got loads of streamers and all the rest of it. But because streamers are global, our British terrestrial channels are limping. And I can see Cybermat Strikes is going, oh, this is too obvious. You imagine Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, ABC in Australia. They have to survive too. Can you imagine in every country who's watching this, if all your terrestrial channels that you know and love from that country have to start to coalesce to survive? It doesn't make it mega digital, and it makes sense. It's dog eat dog. It's ruthless. I started this show by saying Disney were out after Star Beast. They're brutal because they have to be. And so why does this not make sense to people? I mean, I know we are going along with it. It makes total logical sense to me. I can see what the thread is saying regarding, hold on a minute, this is going to be tricky. This is going to be complicated with shareholders and that. The trouble is, that's their job. They're going to have to sort it out, aren't they? But while you add complications like shareholders and complications about stuff like that, everybody, why are we waiting for Doctor Who to be negotiated next week? Joe?
I'm just having a little think about all this, right? This is quite dystopian, actually, maybe, because we've got one medium of media controller, yeah?
Yeah.
And I'm really worried about who's gonna watchdog this, and who's gonna control it. This is a powerful little beast coming together here. I'm almost falling down a little Orwellian rabbit hole in my brain here, sitting here thinking about it further, because
we're really already there.
Yeah, this is actually potentially quite terrifying. I know I was initially optimistic, but upon further thought, whoever's in charge of this is powerful.
I think, Joe, you're right to. I mean, it's exciting because we haven't heard it properly. But the dodgy bit is you're starting to really think now about all the complications, and you're right. A lot of us in many countries are worried about the globalization of industry and everything, about the little man and woman having no say at all about how things are done. And we have all feared globalization and its effect, and the size of some of these companies and how they're heavyweights against governments. And this is therefore almost the same again with the media, isn't it? You feel like they'll be so big and they'll think, a bit like DEI, they might just go, no, this is our message, get over it, because we're so powerful, we can ignore democracies, we can ignore governments, we do what we want for our brand. So you're quite right. And God, now Doctor Who feels like a breadcrumb on the floor, doesn't it?
Well, my hope, based on what you were just sharing, is that, again, we can return to the process of churn that allows quality to come to the surface. You're right. If it's a single monolithic entity, they can impose their will, their vision on the public as they see fit. But what have we seen with all of the separate venues, both in America and in the UK? How well has the viewing public responded to this kind of messaging? very poorly. They've lost it. There's enough content on people's shelves sitting behind them in front of a camera for them to turn around and say, hey, I'm just going to entertain myself with 70 years of quality content that I have accrued. I'm not going to watch what they're giving me. So the circumstances may be such that they have no choice but to start generating quality again at some point.
Well, I mean, Paul Mabley, from my part of the world, is pushing back. And this is what I mean. We need debate to really think about this. Like Joe's starting to think in a different way. Commercial TV lives or dies by the amount of advertising money they can rake in. On that point alone, there will never be one super channel. Now, why are ITV cutting back on content then, Paul? If everything's going fine for them and they can survive on their own. Now, the media insider said this. Now, they're not God, and they've never said they were God, but this is what they're hearing in talks everywhere. That in the next 3 to 5 years, there's going to be a coalescing of lots of the channels. Now, whether what you may be picking on, Paul, is maybe one doesn't join. And they better be right, because if they don't join, they might die. It's going to be one of those. Do you blink? Do the BBC want to play ball with Channel 4 and ITV? But if they don't play ball, do they find they're overtaken and then they're out? Because they have to prove content as well, Paul, don't they? Who wants to pay the license fee in a few years' time with the dross content we're getting now? Nobody. Especially when we're already paying for other streaming platforms. Who wants to pay a license fee on top? So, Paul, I understand what you're saying. I also do think, though, within this, we are going to not end up with 5 terrestrial channels. I think we're going to end up with at least either shrunk to 1 or shrunk to 2. Anybody want to add to this before I move on? Go on, Joe.
Just on the advertising, I know that, I mean, obviously advertising depends on eyes on the product. So if ITV's not getting the eyes on it, the advertisers are going to be dropping off. So a mega channel's going to naturally be able to say we're going to have, 50 million viewers regardless. So it's very attractive for advertising point of view, which is terrifying if you're going to pay a license and get adverts, and Lord knows what else they're going to hit us for. So, yeah,
and this is it. We've all been saying it about the content has become a bit shabby. And Nicola Dolby, spot on. She says the problem with the TV merger is the reason companies are failing. Bad content and no fresh blood in production. Instead of 5 failing companies, you'll have 1 failing company. And this is it. They're not going to maybe listen to the message. They're just going to try and move the chairs around a bit and hope for the best. Isn't this how the media work? They don't really listen. They're like our politicians. They don't really listen. They tell us, oh, hold on, we've had a rethink, and now we're going to tell you about this version. Nobody's listening. Me and John were talking about this earlier today, weren't we, on your channel? And I was saying how, a lot of countries, the populations are talking about the influx of populations and the movement of it. And it seems that most politicians in most countries just don't want to listen and will tell us their version. And it felt like that with Doctor Who, that every Doctor Who fan is saying, I want dark content. I want fear factor back. I want all this sort. Meanwhile, RTD and all the producers say, no, what you want is camp. What you want is fun. What you want is a musical. They tell us something different. It felt as though the producers were talking like the politicians. They tell us what to think. They don't listen to us. And that's why, Nicola Dolby, you're probably spot on. Whether it's 5 terrestrial channels or 1, they're still not going to be listening.
Yeah, 100%. And this is why they need to lose a license, the BBC and whoever is involved with it. I think they we all know as well when certain elderly people cancel their TV licenses and the bullying tactics they use to try and almost scare them to sign back up to a TV license. It is disgraceful these days. I think nothing deserves to carry on if it's not quality. And the BBC, ITV, all of them are in exactly the same boat. But I will say, as I've said before, the streaming mecca, as they call it, is not the be all and end all. It's not. It's failing. It's a failing model. And the trouble you've got as well from a lot of these heads in BBC and elsewhere, they think that's going to fix things for them, but it really isn't. It's really not going to do the job. But can I just finish with say, if it does get merged together, Russell T Davies better not be involved in Doctor Who if they bring it back, because you know what he'll do. He'll have the Doctor turning up with Daleks in the Rover's Return for Coronation Street. He'll have Cybermen inside the Queen Vic. He'll be doing the full works, won't he?
Yes.
Not again. Remember the EastEnders one? I couldn't stand that when I was little. That upset me. That really threw me. Oh.
And it is possible RTD is somehow still around. There's a lot of reasons, and that's another stream later on. But yeah, I'll remind you of what you've really loved, everybody.
Give me the loving.
Now give me
Access denied.
Why do you do this to me,
Sorry.
Brendan?
Well, I
do you do
just wanted
this
to
me?
cheer people up.
Give me the
God.
loving. I know. Not the
So I mean, everybody is so alive in the thread. I'm trying to keep up. Every time I look that way, you know, I'm looking at you, everyone. Woodhouse 122, BBC ITV, Channel 4 and 5 already have a streaming service called Freely, which they hope will replace Freeview. Do you know, it has a sense of one of those moments when you might invent the iPlay, you might invent this, you might invent that, and then things change and then change again. I think things are going to change quite fast. Right, okay, shall we continue even more? So just for everybody to be aware, if they've just tuned in, there is big news out there from my media source. They can't survive. This is the terrestrial channels in Britain. All these streamers in Britain need constant content. They were all going to consolidate as one, or maybe two if one wants to be stupid. It'll be like one big iPlayer. This will happen in the next 3 to 5 years. Okay, that's where we got up to. But there's more, because we haven't even talked about how this really comes into Doctor Who. So, bit of insight here on what the streamers will learn from the experience of Disney with Doctor Who. Oh, aye. It won't be this. So we're about to build up, folks, to the negotiation and how it will work. And of course, Source, you know, talking about that stream we did on Disney dumping Doctor Who and the leak I used. They said it was spot on. All right. So please, everybody, you can go back on that and you can take it as gospel. So what we had then is this. So here the streamer has got more. Sorry, the source has got more to say. I don't think a streamer worth their salt with any intelligence would let the BBC put Doctor Who on as a first broadcast if they're buying the rights and they're putting the money in. So here we go, folks, with negotiations. If it's Amazon, which he says is the favourite, why would Amazon buy it if they don't get to show the content first on their channel?
But that's what happened with Disney as well. Remember, you know, that it all started. You know, it all started where they were getting it, you know, globally on Disney Plus first, if you remember. And Russell T came out with that waffle about the fact, oh, you know, we're still all getting it at the same time, even if you have to get up at flipping 1:15 or whatever it was in the UK. You're 100% right on that, and the source is 100% correct, because why would you? If you're shelling out that much money, you're putting the bulk of the production into it. Why wouldn't you say, right, no, contractually, we are having it on Amazon, on our app, on our streaming platform from day one. You get it 10 hours later or something like that. You know, makes perfect business sense, doesn't it?
It does, but this is when it will cause a complication with negotiation, because if the terrestrial channels are fighting for diminishing ratings, they want people on their channel. And so while you're negotiating, say, with Amazon about the future of Doctor Who, why would you say, oh, yeah, you can show it first? Because Doctor Who, the thing about Doctor Who is there's a narrative arc, there's sometimes a surprise, there's a spoiler. We can't afford to have Amazon or Disney reveal ahead of it showing on terrestrial. What happens? Oh, the Daleks come back. Oh, go on, Joe.
I'm not having it. It's British, and it should be shown in Britain first. And I don't give two flying monkeys. Sorry, can I just talk on behalf of Who
Yeah.
fans?
Yeah.
No. And if anyone's watching this from Amazon, hear me. It's got to be shown in Britain first. End of negotiations. Thank you very much for your time.
So,
But
so Joe, when we do the simulation in a minute about, I might just make you the streamer and make you, you know. But the thing is, why would Amazon come in with the big money then? Why? If they're not
Because
going to
they've
get.
got it. I suppose they've got it. I mean, I'm trying to think with an Amazon head on, right? You've just had two seasons of utter failure. So how are you going to talk me into buying Doctor Who? Okay, the back catalogue is a guarantee. That's set in stone. But where are we going in the future with this? And that is the stumbling block, isn't it?
Yeah.
What are we going to do moving forward? I think maybe rather than this point about who's getting first rights, it should be shown in Britain. That's a non-negotiable. It should be aired here first, or at least at a decent time. But UK deserves to have first rights on Doctor Who.
Actually, it makes sense, Joe, to show it in the UK first. Again, Amazon, I should think, would want to curry favor with potential customers. That is a sign of goodwill to ingratiate itself as a corporation with an entire country. I think that's a winning formula. If they have access to the back catalog, so much the better. They still have the opportunity to broadcast that and make that available. And it doesn't mean they're not going to have it available through Amazon Prime in America after the fact. So pragmatically, I could say if they have the dollars and cents to invest, I guess they can make what demands they will. But in terms of public relations, I think it would behoove them to ensure that the UK sees the program first upon broadcast. If they,
because this is the problem, everybody, especially those watching internationally. If the BBC are part of these negotiations, which obviously they own the rights, why would you give first port of call and broadcast to somebody else when you are fighting for your survival to get content and people sat watching you? You're basically giving Amazon a head start for their streaming subscriptions.
Yeah.
But you're changing the fabric of
John.
Doctor Who. Are we going to retain Doctor Who as a British institution? I think it has become that. I think the amount of years it's been going on, this is a British show and a British institution, or are we giving it away to the world and it becomes global and we lose that identity? I think the core of Doctor Who is his love for Britain and London and the Britishness. And I think that's going to be a non-negotiable.
I think to answer your question, Joe, I think Doctor Who since 2009, when it started getting bigger in the US, it was people in the UK that kind of abdicated that British institution and started pushing the US more and more. You started seeing Comic-Con at San Diego, where they were exclusively showing the trailer for the End of Time and upcoming trailers, and then we were having to wait in the UK longer to see those trailers. And then even the last few years, there was more money clearly put into promoting it in the US than there was into the UK. I will also just touch on the point that Brendan, you were saying about, why would the BBC, if they're in negotiations, why would they agree a deal whereby effectively Amazon get the exclusive rights hours ahead of the UK? That helps their app and their channel as opposed to the BBC or the UK broadcaster. Now there's an important point here. That is on the basis that there are sensible people involved in the meeting. What we've had the last few years, we're talking about the same people who commissioned Russell T Davies and didn't hold him to account when he did his absolutely disgraceful series that he did since coming back. That's the people you're dealing with. So I don't even think they care about whether it works in the UK. I think all they care about is let's make some money. If they get money from Amazon, that's a winner for them. That's
They've forgotten what made it work in the first place was that little. It was a naff. Sorry.
Unique, yeah.
It was a naff, beautifully naff. But you know, its identity is what made it popular, and I don't want. This is my concern. Please don't lose that. Don't transform it into some, because the whole point of those kids in America discovering maybe David Tennant, I would argue it was Tennant or Eccleston, sorry, was that Britishness and it was that identity. So if you lose that, what makes it so unique? What makes it this homogenized
Well-
grey content that's coming out now? We need to pull back, don't we?
Well, Farsight is loving your content, Joe, and maybe this is why we don't want Doctor Who to change, because it was like this. Something like that. Anyway, but yes, people are loving your content, and basically, if I can't keep up with the thread, everyone, I don't normally grift for super chats, but I might notice them a bit more. But I'm trying to keep up with you all. Ash is making some brilliant comments, even though you're on a phone. Sunny Waffles, good to see you. If you've just found our channel, oh God, this is the start of a lot of source insights from the media. There's loads more. Like and subscribe. Tell a friend, please do. It helps. Woodhouse 122, Amazon would turn down Doctor Who if they don't get the show to premiere on their platform. I'm thinking, well, this is it. Stick around for when we do the role play of this one, because the source said we really need to get into the heads of being the commissioner, editor, the streamer, negotiator, because you will see how complicated this is going to be. So first of all, there's one complication in a world that's moving. And here's my next thing. Remember, Netflix and Amazon are not creative companies. They're just selling content. You don't have any creative thoughts or any ideas about something being good or bad. It's just, can we flog this on our carousel? So basically, we want your back catalogue. We want those Doctor Who episodes from the past. We want that. And the one thing that the source really was found so perplexed was how Disney organised that deal with the BBC and didn't get hold of the back catalogue, because it made no sense. No creative control. RTD, do what the hell you want with our money. And we don't even get the back catalogue, which is why it's so interesting that yesterday ITVX and Disney Plus swapping each other's back catalogues. Hello. So yeah, there's a cynicism here that Amazon and Netflix aren't really creators. They just want to buy content.
Well, that's what it's become.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's what corporations are about. It's all about buying content. And the problem is, if they start to influence things beyond just buying the content already created, that sometimes can lead to some misfires. I do find it ironic that Disney, when they made the original deal and said, RTD, do what you want, but they didn't have the back catalog, and yet RTD kept mining the back catalog for content to feed the narratives of the stories he was airing. And Disney couldn't even capitalize on that because they didn't have access to it on their streaming platform.
Remember, everybody, while we're talking about Amazon might be in the front of the queue regarding that's who they're talking to at the moment, possibly. Remember, why would Amazon, if they don't get the back catalogue, well, okay, they get hold of the back catalogue. My understanding is it will be 300 or 400 million, right? That's how much they'd have to pay. But then what happens to season 1 and 2 that Disney made? I mean, that's a separate contract. Are Disney going to allow a rival platform to have 2 seasons of Doctor Who? No, they're not. This is such a mess.
Or maybe not, because who wants those anyway?
Well, that's also what my source said. Who wants them? So there you go on that one. So I will, and it goes on. I mean, like I say, I've got a lot to say about this. And so here we go. Doctor Who as a bargaining chip or a deal breaker. Everybody, we're now going to play deal or no deal. And how does a deal get pitched? So everybody, every Doctor Who fan who has an interest in the future of Doctor Who, we now need to actually really get our heads into this, because this is such a complicated mess. So this verbatim, as you know from my source sets all this up. Just to confirm how serious I am. Right. And this is what they said. I would pose it to your guests. Imagine you're the executive, right? Just put yourself in a situation. In 3 to 5 years, everything's going to be consolidated under one thing. You've heard about that. What would your decision be about selling off Doctor Who? What would you do? Now, there's another hypothesis coming. I'm going to make it even worse. But what's your instinct at the moment, Joe? If you're the commissioning editor of BBC drama, would you be trying to sell off parts of Doctor Who to get a deal, or would you be holding back?
Wow. Okay. The BBC doesn't hold that many family heirlooms. This is an heirloom. This is, you know, once that's gone, you're not going to get that back. So and the potential for it is massive if done right. So that's a really tough. I think I'd be inclined to hold on to it. But if the BBC is going to disintegrate, I would just want to find a suitable person, suitable team to hand it over to. So that's a really tough one.
Yeah. And with Thread joining, I'll keep an eye on you. I'm going to come to Christian next on his thoughts. As I said, I'm going to make it even worse in a minute. But the source thought we really need to get our heads into this as Doctor Who fans. So basically, right, as Joe's saying, if you're going to consider selling Doctor Who to a big streamer to get them on board, there's a bit of quid pro quo, isn't there? Because you as the BBC want new content of Doctor Who, say 8 episodes like we had this year. For those 8 episodes and a payment to help budget for that, what, you're going to give all the back catalogue for, say, 3 to 5 to 6 years?
It's a tough decision to make. It depends on the stewardship of the property. Let's look at the problem that Sherry Redstone has had with Star Trek, which was a family heirloom and went sideways because of what happened at Paramount. Let's look at George Lucas and Lucasfilm and what happened to his family heirlooms when he surrendered them to an unworthy steward. There is very little historical precedent for one of these heirlooms being bequeathed to another organization and having the content respected. I'd love to see that that's happening. It hasn't. If I were someone at the top as an exec, it would probably be predicated on whether it was literally necessary for financial survival. There's literally no way that we can keep going unless we have a huge influx of revenue.
Right, okay. I'm going to ask you now, Christine, as a Doctor Who fan. If I said to you, to get another season of Doctor Who, we need to give the back catalogue for, say, 5 years for a certain price to that next streamer, what would you do?
If it's a limited window of time, that's manageable. That's not control. That's a window of time for the back catalog to another streamer to provide an infusion of revenue for us to generate more original content for Doctor Who. It's different from surrendering it outright.
Well, just before I lose it, I've had 2 super chats, and I have to say that because that's my infusion of funding. So number 1, thank you, Duncan, the Funky Evans, who's said Michael Grade would have said yes. And for that, we all say thank you.
Oh, flukes, you washed him.
Have you ever crossed paths, Joe, with Michael Grade?
No, fortunately.
I mean, we all
No.
know what he did. He had opinions on Doctor Who, and you think, yeah, okay.
It might have been a big fight if I had. I'm maybe a bit too young, believe it or not.
No, I'm just wondering because media circles and all that lot.
Yeah.
Now,
No.
Farsight, I know you've also done a super chat. I've just got to get my cursor. I've got about 5 cursors in different places, but thank you nonetheless. I can manage it. But thank you. Let Disney keep the shooty era. It's a great way to decanonize it. And do you know what? That's kind of what the source said. The source said, because they know what the media's saying. They know what all the insiders are saying. And he said, basically, Brendan, that's a way that you erase the shooty era because nobody's going to want to buy it separate to the back catalogue. What's the point? And then it's just going to be left there like some sort of kind of embarrassment. Like, your dodgy auntie who farts and you keep her in the corner. It's like, what the hell? And this is such an indictment of what you've done, RTD.
Yeah.
All you had to do is do scary Doctor Who, have the monsters chasing the Doctor down a corridor, make him a hero. It was so bloomin' easy, mate. But instead, you've made it harder for the BBC. You've made it harder for everybody. You've complicated it. Can you imagine, Joe, Christian, and John, if RTD had relaunched Doctor Who successfully? The negotiation now would be brilliant for the BBC. It would be so much easier.
Have season 3 as well.
Yeah. Well, the BBC would have been coming in from a position of strength. Right now, they're profoundly weak. That's not a good position to start your negotiations from.
Honestly, it does irritate me. And thank you, Farsight, for that comment, because I think it's in a lot of media insiders' minds. And for that, let's talk about the face of Bo. Here we go.
Hello.
Do you know, I only have to hear one Dalek utterance, and you're going, why can't we have normal Doctor Who, please?
I missed them.
I know. I don't want them back under RTD, of course, but I miss iconic Doctor Who.
Yeah.
It's, for God's sake. As I always said in my analogy, Christian, it's my football analogy is Diana Ross, World Cup opening ceremony in America. She had an open goal and she missed the bloody thing. I mean, honestly, RTD, BBC, how did you miss the goal? Everybody wanted scary Doctor Who and you give us waffle.
What you can do, I was just the other night having a good old time watching some of the older shows and he's perfectly capable.
Yes.
It wasn't beyond him, so he purposely dismantled it. He really did.
Hubris, John, hubris.
Yeah, I mean the guy's a complete arse. I mean that's what I say about it. I don't even sugar my words anymore.
No.
He's just seeing his face turn up on screen gets me cross now because he knew what he was doing. He knew how he can call himself a fan of the show is beyond me, because to do what he's done, you can't be a fan of the show. If any of us got told tomorrow that we were taking over Doctor Who, we wouldn't do anything like that. We would stick to what is core Doctor Who. I think I was also going to say what I would do on this thing as well is I'd sign a deal with Amazon or whoever, 3 to 5 years with a break clause wrapped into it. And then I would essentially give them the library and I would say, right, go and make Doctor Who as great and as serious as possible, bring it back to its core roots, and then come back in 3 to 5 years and we'll talk again. Because what it does then is once you get to that point when this new super studio is being put together, is you essentially then have it back. You have the option of, do we keep it or do we keep working with a streamer? And then you're also putting shame on the people that have gone before, and you're also telling people that want to come in and write for it, you've got to be on your game for this, because look what these people have done over the last 3 to 5 years.
That's what I mean. This is where RTD clearly got complacent, because if you weren't a public service broadcaster, he'd have had to have been very ruthless with that's not a good script. No, we can't start with Space Babies. No, we need to start with something bigger. He wasn't thinking like his competitors. That was the thing. Christian, you're going to dread the fact that I'm coming to you next, because I'm going to show you even more of the simulation. So, everybody, here we go. I'll go big here because there's a lot to take in. Right, everybody, let's play the game. But the game is what is happening now. Right, Christian, you're the first cab on the rank. You could play devil's advocate and say, I'm a streamer. I'm going to negotiate with you live on the show. Right, I'm going to offer you what's Doctor Who's worth. I'm going to offer you 300 million, right, Christian? So let's pretend you're Amazon. I'm going to offer you 300 million for your back catalogue for 10 years and all the merchandise we can make. We can do it, and we'll split the merchandise with everything, and we will put in, 50 million to do a very limited character continuation of the series, which we will promote heavily, but it's going to be tied into that. So, sorry, I said you're Amazon. You're the other side. What would you recommend, Christian, to the board at the BBC, to the chief commissioning officer? What would you say? What would you say to them about selling off all of this content? Would you do the deal? Would you bring in Russell T Davies back? What would you do? And the reason the source mentioned Russell T Davies is it's still under contract with Bad Wolf. The TARDIS set is still there. They could make some content to just fill the airwaves for now. That's why that's kind of in there. So, sorry, Christian, there's a lot there. You are working for the BBC, right? I'm going to offer you 300 million for the Doctor Who back catalogue for about 10 years. We'll go halfy on the merchandise profits, and we'll give you so much money to make a limited new series. What you gonna say?
I would probably insist on a higher payout. Let's say it's Amazon coming to us. How much did they pay to get the James Bond unadulterated control? Billions. So I would try and up the market. I would not arrange Russell T Davies to come back. The nice thing about Doctor Who is you can still start somewhat discontinuous with what's come before. If having access to the TARDIS set was predicated on working with Bad Wolf and with RTD, given what damage RTD has done, I'd say that's a deal breaker in this situation. I couldn't justify bringing him back because he doesn't show he has the capacity or the willingness to tie back into the proper tone and style of Doctor Who.
Right. Well, just before I move to John, the complication is still we may not like RTD and what he's done, but Bad Wolf still have the contract for a few more years. So what do we do? Just let Doctor Who die for a couple of years while we all stay in our stubborn positions? Or do we just say, come on then, we can make a bit of content, hope for the best in the meantime, a limited series. That's why, remember, the TARDIS is sat there. So none of us want to do...
The Doctor's gone, mate.
The Doctor's gone, but the TARDIS hasn't. And we'd all... Go on, John, come on in.
Yeah, I would say that, if it was me, I'd be saying, right, okay, we'll just let the contract run out. We won't allow Bad Wolf to do any more. They've clearly shown that they're incapable and unfit to manage that production. They couldn't keep someone who was their friend in line. So there was a conflict of interest there. So I would lock it off. But I would say it amazes me if it is the case that nobody at the BBC with Bad Wolf negotiated that there was a break clause, then that is unbelievably poor.
My understanding from the source is that both sides could do it if they want, but that's money. Why would... I mean, does the BBC have the money? They apparently had the money to pay off another blooming Doctor actor, for 1 year's gardening leave. But honestly, this would cost... the contract they reckon with Bad Wolf and Sony is another 2 or 3 years, and RTD. So what do? Do a kill clause now and pay them out. Shooty, he did a kill clause and he paid himself out to get out early. But
I would play hardball, mate. I would literally, if I was the BBC, regardless of how poor a position I'm in, I've always heard the talk. If you're in a poor position, go at them like you're in a strong position and attack. And I would literally say to Bad Wolf, right, we're breaking this. We're going to agree to pay you this, which is a fraction of what we agreed because you've given us a subpar product. If you don't agree to that, we are going to break off any future production deals with Bad Wolf Productions.
Now, John, because I've been well educated by the source, lots of great chat. So I'm thinking differently now. You're talking a bit like a fan, and that's fair enough. But I'm going to throw it back at you, John. That's a fan saying Bad Wolf, da 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 da. But these people don't understand Doctor Who, and they just want content. So basically, why would you just have this impasse and pay money for no content? Because what you're saying is, we'll do a kill clause and waste money after bad money, and not one penny of that is making a new program. It's just getting you out of a clause.
I think for me, I would be looking at, regardless of whether it's good content or not, I would actually be pushing it by the metrics and the data. And I would be saying, right, okay, regardless of whether it's good or bad, nobody's watching this. What you've put out, nobody's watching it, not just in the UK, but worldwide. So from an exec's hat, not from a fan's hat, I would literally be saying that. And I'd say, look, so we need to break it. And me, what I would have done, this was if I was an exec and if I could get away with it, I'd be saying, right, okay, like we have sometimes in insurance that I work in, you basically, if there's a claim coming in, you agree implement settlements. So I'd be going, right, okay, if it's failing at this sort of metric, okay, we'll agree to do the break cost at this amount. If it's well below that, I'd be saying, right, okay, we're agreeing a bottom basement break clause to get out of it.
And may I make it even more complicated, Joe? If the contract is with Bad Wolf and Sony and RTD for, say, another 2 or 3 years, and the BBC don't have the money to buy themselves out of it early, then it is then in the lap of the Bad Wolf and Sony team to go, hold on a minute, it didn't work with RTD. I wonder if we can talk to another producer, another writer, and get them on board, rejuvenate the show, and then we might keep the blooming contract.
Yeah, look, as the person holding Doctor Who in my hand, the way I treat Doctor Who as a precious, fantastic show, I have to get other people to treat it this way and get the respect that it is due. And it has to get... This is what I would come at it as. This show should be respected. I know I don't feel it has been recently. Russell T Davies, get the Doctor's name out your feckin' mouth. The time's over for you. So, okay, what am I going to do? Is this simply about how to make money when there's a downtime on it? So it's coming down to money, isn't it? This is just what we're talking about here. We're not talking about... So it definitely has to be another production company, even if it... Do you remember, who did they source out that awful thing where they had that bounty hunter with that terrible comedian? You know, they did this sort of offside media content for a little while.
Oh, I know you mean.
Yeah.
Doom.
We can't be having any of that crap. So, you know, if we're going to make little things on the side, I want the quality back in Doctor Who. I want it valued and I want it respected again. 2 things I feel it's lost. So
Just before anybody...
figure out
So just before you...
Sorry?
Oh, no, I apologise. I thought you'd finished. Sorry. I apologise.
No, just, okay, sure. Let's negotiate back catalogue. Let's perhaps do some retrospective, some content, yes, in the meantime. But I want this show taken seriously. I want it put back together, and that has to be done on the other side. I'd be looking at all different ways of, yeah, sure, make some money out of the back catalogue. Why not for a few years? Give us 2 years to think on it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna come to the thread now just to pick up stuff. But basically, everybody, if you think about it in the thread here, Bad Wolf still is sitting pretty in the way that if you get a decent producer and writing team in, it's still under contract with you, and you could revive it. You've got a massive warehouse full of TARDIS set. You might as well utilize it. You know, come on. Yes, whether the Billy Piper thing is a stunt, do you use her maybe once and just go for it? At the moment, I don't think the BBC will buy you out. They'll just go on then, try a bit more content. Because as people are saying in the thread, you know, as in 6XD says, sadly, I see the BBC sticking with the bad Doctor Who stories. Bad publicity is still publicity after all. You've got Cliff Maxwell agreeing with you, Joe. Stephen O'Neill, Doctor Who had respect before 2017. Now it's treated with disrespect. How far things change. But surely in Bad Wolf's head, how far can it change back? You know, it's still there. What do? Just sit on it and have... Remember, they are bidding for other contracts as well. Can you imagine... I mean, the source said, as a daft example, I said, can you imagine if they got the next kind of contract to make Jack Reacher, you know, like, and they were like Pinewood Studios, they would want that studio space because at the moment the TARDIS is just sat there. It makes sense to try and churn out. I'm sorry, I know I'm a Doctor Who fan, but churn out content.
They're not capable. Sorry, we're not capable.
What if something like Amazon is coming in and they're making a bid, and part of the deal from the BBC is we want you, because we want fresh quality content, to help buy out RTD and Bad Wolf's claws so they can go away. That gives you a free hand and you have deeper pockets with which to buy them out anyway. And you can fast track this as is your want.
That's why Amazon is probably the favourite, because they've got the money to burn on out. Because that's basically what you're doing, Joe.
The concern with Amazon is I'm hearing rumours that Jeff Bezos' wife wants to choose who's James Bond. This is what I'm hearing from Amazon. So yeah, they've got the money, but you know, Disney had the money, so we're back to square one with.
So Joe, forget everything you've just said. Is she a Doctor Who fan? That's all I'm about.
Well, if she's got any choice, I mean, okay, but are we just going down the same path? You know.
Well, Farsight, lovely for you to be generous. So that's the most complicated stream I've done for a while. But thank you. There's a rumour Bad Wolf issued an ultimatum to the BBC. Are you continuing our contract or not? Apparently the TARDIS set is losing them contracts. That was my understanding as well, Farsight. It is a massive set. They cannot... Come on, who can afford to have a warehouse where you could make little independent movies? You know, even in the Northeast, we've got a studio in Hartlepool and it's busy. How can Bad Wolf just sit on prime real estate because they're waiting for something to happen in 3 to 5 years' time? That's not a possibility.
It's very strange because you can make green screen money out of these studios quite easily with cordoning off. You can do a lot of green screen content, and I mean, I've got direct experience from actively having to sell studio space, so I'd love to know a little bit more into exactly what's going on there with Bad Wolf.
Do you know, Joe, before I come to the others, and just so everybody, and I will look at the thread in a minute, everybody, I'm trying my best here, but I think you might agree there's an awful lot of interesting debate here that you're not hearing anywhere else. What I would say, Joe, is with your experience of that, the source was saying to me, remember, Media Insider 2, was saying almost Bad Wolf having all those warehouses of studio space is almost old-fashioned now as well. It's kind of, you know, like you said, with that kind of green screen LED format, there's no need for that scale or size. So Bad Wolf
studios have that, yeah.
Yeah.
The film guys have the big space. The TV can be done in relatively sure. But something doesn't seem quite right about what's been said regarding the space to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I know I look as though I'm half listening. I'm trying not to. Jess, Bad Wolf have a contract with the BBC, but they also provide other shows for the BBC. Yeah, industry is one. Yeah, industry. Everything's complicated, isn't it, John? I don't know how. Can you see how the BBC might just say, let's just not do anything? And if Bad Wolf come up with a plan for a few episodes with Billy Piper sitting on the loo and they go and travel to Skaro, we'll do it. We just have to do it.
Firstly, don't give RTD ideas, Brendan, because that's probably what he would do. Secondly, no. I've seen people comment, and I saw what Joe said as well, about the fact, about damaging the brand and everything. 100% spot on. If they are allowed to even make 1 second more of material, it's further going to damage the brand, which is on life support at the moment as it is. It needs to, if that's the only options on the table, I would rather there was no Doctor Who than incredibly poor, what I call Temu Doctor Who, low budget brand Doctor Who, because that's what you'll get with it. It's not going to be proper Doctor Who. It's not going to be taken seriously.
And this is the problem, everybody, because we're actually sounding as though we're bothered about the programme, whereas actually the people in these meetings are more bothered about content just being churned out. And so you can see how, as fans, we go over our dead body, but a content creator might go, oh, just make 3 episodes and buys us another year.
Which is ridiculous, because if they do what we are trying to tell them, what the fans are trying to tell them, what fans who are in TV production or have, a good, listen to us, please. We do know what we're kind of talking about.
Yeah.
The show will be a success, so you can resell it. We used to make shows and then we'd sell them abroad. That's how, you make the show and 12 countries would buy it and you'd make your profit. You'd make your money back 12 times, whatever. So now it's just, they're making the content and it's dying. Why can't we make content that we want to go and watch 100 times on the TV like we used to?
Now Donald Cowie, and I'd like to question: do they move the TARDIS set to storage and then put it in a Doctor Who museum? I think storage would cost too much, but I've also heard another thing, Joe, Christine, and John, that the TARDIS set is so elaborate that actually it would take a long time to dismantle and a long time to put back up. It's nothing you can put in storage so easily.
It's not even a particularly nice set, though. I mean, I've said before, when I first saw it, I was like, is that it? And I always look forward to seeing the new TARDIS interior. It was just so sparse with lack of TARDISness about. Yeah, and it just, every single thing they've done was the wrong decision. And I think when you look back at it, RTD is clearly and his team have gone, oh, we got lots of money now. What are we going to do? Oh, massive TARDIS.
Spin off.
Yeah, more is less is more, as they say. You have a small internal TARDIS interior, maybe a little bigger than what you'd had before. But what do? You focus first on the stories, the writing, and the acting abilities. That's what you focus on, because
not the
you
message.
Can throw as many you can throw as many CGIs as you can at it, but it's not going to make it a good production, is it?
And John Keegan, sorry.
I was just about to say, I was looking at the size of the TARDIS. Remember, the TARDIS basically has an infinite interior. There's no reason, if a story required more space, you don't go down a causeway into another space, and now you've got a big set for that specific story. But for the TARDIS itself, the more intimate space that we previously enjoyed is probably the way it should have gone. And we've just seen a transition, supposedly. Gat was gone. Typically, the interior of the TARDIS changes. Since they have just given up this version of the Doctor, now's the time to make the switch. They don't need that set anymore.
So we've got, Z3PO. RTD2 reminds me of George Lucas doing the prequel trilogy. There's no one there to tell him no on the second outing. There's jokes about, Sonny Waffles, the TARDIS set. I hadn't noticed it. My source laughed when and said how spot on I was when I said that the TARDIS set felt like a catwalk. and they laughed because it just makes you wonder what media insiders are saying. And what the source had said is, with the Star Beast onwards, is the Disney so trusted RTD, they really thought we're onto a winner here. And
Yeah.
then they saw those early rushes and their data was confirming. Remember, Disney don't understand Doctor Who, just like the BBC don't. So they were just hoping that RTD knows what he's doing. But they were seeing the pronouns debate and the female presenting Time Lord and strange little things going on. And they were kind of looking at each other going, is this Doctor Who? Is
Well,
it?
Brendan, you compare 2 minutes of Matt Smith Doctor Who and 2 minutes of Ncuti Gatwa Doctor Who. It's not nowhere close to the same show. What are we getting here? There's nothing. Even Whittaker, I would say, is hard to connect to Ncuti.
And
Yeah.
this goes back to these BBC execs, okay? And you literally, you think about them going up for a job and they say, right, what have you done? And on their CV, it's got, right, I was in charge of, making and being involved in deals with Doctor Who from 2017 to present. And they're like, well, thanks very much for coming in today. Could you please close the door on your way out? Thanks very much.
Yeah.
That's how bad they are. But that would happen in any other industry, but it doesn't happen in the entertainment industry. As Joe and Christian, you'll know more than I do. It's just, you can make a failure after failure after failure, but you can still get the gig.
Now, Cliff Maxwell, who obviously is one of our panelists and will be on a future stream very soon, we just need to get our ducks in a row, says he disagrees with you, John, but that's our debate, isn't it? I think you don't focus on the stories first, you focus on the framework first, the canon and the intent. We're a future show with Cliff and Christian. We're going to look at actually designing a pitch for Doctor Who, on what that would look like, because that's where some of the complications are. We did our manifesto a while back and we did do a show like that, but we now realize we're going to do a direct appeal to the BBC. We're going to talk directly at them in my little humble stream, and we're going to say, this is what you should do. Because I also remember that Jo Chapman there, former media producer, she said if she was in charge of Doctor Who, you would get about 5 or 6 streamers in the room who were Doctor Who fans to hear roughly what they were saying.
Yeah, I mean, Russell, I was just thinking when John was talking back there, that the current TARDIS really visually represents what RTD did. Even say, let's have this TARDIS and let's put in all this ideology. It's a wheelchair-friendly TARDIS. There was never a wheelchair in it. There was never a Dalek in it. There was never anything that had wheels in it. It became a catwalk. All his writers were DEI hires. Everything was DEI orientated for those 2 series. It wasn't story orientated. And like the last chap said in the comment, it didn't even have a framework. It was all DEI. What's that? Virtue signaling. It was the virtue signal era. And I think the TARDIS visually, really, it was an empty, soulless, huge mess.
Yeah, empty and soulless. That nails it perfectly. As Cliff was saying, you've got to have the framework in place. My God, they not only disregarded the framework from the classic era and the new era, they couldn't even maintain framework within their own confined Disney seasons.
Yeah. Can I just echo what Garbage is saying, our moderator? And he's a busy man tonight, and I appreciate you giving me your time, Garbage. And please remember, you've got other great stuff going on tonight, but thank you. Nicola, I know Brendan really appreciates it. He does a lot behind the scenes, and your loyalty for being here was heartwarming. That's true. It's Friday night. I understand. I appreciate these 3 people here giving me their time. It's goodwill. I love their insight. It's a fascinating chat. And equally, people who've joined us tonight. I will never undersell you. My media source has given me so much information. This is just a starter. But it's really interesting. And actually, the source said, your fans, your followers, your other fans need to think like this, because it might give you an idea whether this is going to happen or not. And of course, we recently, me and John, Russell T Davies did an interview on Your Manchester. We broke it. In fact, it was John who broke it. Sci-Fi Chronicles 79.
We broke it.
handed it to me in a very kind, generous gesture. And, you know, we have a complication. You're trying to sell Doctor Who with ratings like this. Yeah?
Yeah.
You hope that whoever's got an idea with the money and the contract and everything is not going to say, let's do more of the same. You hope they're going to do something different. That's a hope. I don't know if that's actually really going to happen. But you can see tonight has been hopefully just giving people a bit of an insight to the Omni channel, how difficult it's going to be. I've got future shows about the BBC Insiders, about the Chris Eccleston debacle with Bad Wolf. The Insiders given me stuff on that. There's more to come. And I've really appreciated everybody giving me their tuppennyworth on this. And can I just say, while we're discussing about the future of Doctor Who, it just so happened that yesterday as well, Channel 5 renewed All Creatures Great and Small. Just like that. Just like that.
It's crazy. It's almost, and call me wacky, but it's almost like something that is popular with viewers seems to get renewed, whereas something that is unpopular doesn't get renewed. I mean, it's crazy talk. I know, everybody, but you know, apparently there's no evidence to support that.
So everybody, while we're wondering, oh, will Disney do season 3? Oh, I've heard a tea lady say this. Right. Channel 5, All Creatures Great and Small, has been recommissioned for a seventh series by Channel 5 ahead of its 6th series airing. Let's say that again. 2 series that have not been shown yet are already on the way. White Lotus is the same. If Doctor Who, if they had a sniff of success, season 3 and season 4 would have been commissioned. So anybody out there who says, you little dinosaurs, you're always slagging off and being critical, what we're saying is a much more complicated, nuanced picture. We, all of us, Joe, you can hear Joe's passion, you can hear Christian's passion, you can hear John's passion, hopefully you can hear mine. We don't want Doctor Who to fail. Why the hell would we want that? We also know, having been through the wilderness years, that it may not come back. There's no guarantee. So I don't want it tanked. The trouble is, we've got to see the truth. It has tanked. Yep. What do we do now is the task. I don't want us all sitting there in all our rooms across the world going, oh, if only this happened, if only that happened. I don't live with if onlys. The reality is this: how the hell do we get out of it and get a Doctor Who that I might recognise? And it's interesting, I want to go down the panel here and ask this one. Would you want... It is, I mean, because people have been saying this since 2017. It's called Doctor Who, but it isn't Doctor Who. We seem to be saying that a new streamer might come in with money. It might be called Doctor Who. It's got a TARDIS, but basically it's been really changed. It's been hollowed out. I'm going to ask the question, even though I guess the answer, but the truth is, if anybody's listening, Joe, is it worth getting a new series because it could turn around, or is it not worth risking it?
No, I think the damage is too. I think personally, I wouldn't mind a 2-year reset with a team dedicated to building the respect, the brand back, and getting a real framework put back together. And look, to hell with Disney Doctor Who. I say start from another point, take it forward and move on from there. But an immediate new series, it would be too rushed. There's just no way we can get... The Doctor alone has so much to save. So any new Doctor has such a high mountain to climb. I don't think we can find him. I think even just finding the Doctor would be impossible.
Well, everybody's joining the dots, like Anthony Parkinson saying, are there any transgender cows on All Creatures? Now, the other thing is, ratings-wise, every week when me and John were doing the ratings and I updated on Tuesday night with Children of Time, we noticed that Antiques Roadshow, Country File, was doing better than Doctor Who. So maybe with all this LGBT stuff, I wonder if it should be Doctor Who meets Brokeback Mountain might actually get the ratings. Oh God, Christian, is it worth the risk? Do we stick or twist? Another series called Doctor Who, but it might be anything.
No.
I'm tempted to go with the idea of a McGann short run series, in that the actor is respected. He's still young enough to play the role. He's not really connected to anything new or Disney Who. It provides an interim space of time, and you have the ability with the team putting those stories together to prove itself with the capacity to create true Doctor Who narratives, to determine whether you go forward beyond that point. But it's a holding position for a year or two in order to buy that time. If that's not forthcoming and it's a crapshoot, it's just gamble. You know what? Let's just give some more money to Bad Wolf and trust them to turn it around on their own. I'd say no.
You see, I think that's what's happened with RTD. He's seen the money. He's gone. He's maybe actually, I don't know, maybe he's cleverer than we think in the way, and I'm not being sarcastic. He knows how these media executives work, which is they're not bothered about quality, they just want content. So he's gone, Sea Devil's spin-off. Here's some stories, Sutek, I'll shout words at you and you'll go, whatever. He sounds as though he knows what he's talking about. And then he's got the stuff. And as we said, he's not thought about the bigger picture, because it's only the fans who think about the bigger picture. He was just thinking about churning out content and making a nice pension for himself. John?
I mean, for me, my view has been for quite some time that it needs at least 5 to 10 years away. The reason being is that RTD and his co team of they've literally infected every element of Doctor Who and the franchise. Look at Doctor Who magazine. Look at what damage has been done to that. That it's now effectively being a pink news magazine. Now, effectively, you've got Big Finish who are doing the audios, which I used to adore. The amount of diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff that's in that rubbish now is just unbelievable. You need 5 or 10 years away, because you need to purge all of these people that have been involved with the franchise. That's why it's going to take that long. You can't just go 2-3 years, it's back, because RTD and his cohorts, they will still have fingers in a lot of pies, and they'll cause problems.
And look, there's stuff I can't even give away, but when people say Straczynski, I can't, you know the phrase I can't use? Babylon 5. Yeah. And people say, oh, what about so-and-so? What about so-and-so writer? All I'll say, without giving anything away, folks, is forget sort of talk like that. Bad Wolf still have the contract. So why would they talk to him? Why would they... It's going to be on their terms, everybody. So basically, I get it. I was saying that a few weeks ago, but, you know, things change when you learn information. Honestly, tonight, everybody, you've been fantastic. It's been a joy. The technology's been a bit, but wow, I tell you what. So, Joe, was that worth it for you?
Yeah. Thanks for sharing all that. It's been really. And I'm going to have to go and do a wee bit of homework and asking around of things now myself. So thank you.
Yeah, and get straight on and tell us. But honestly, we all, you know, Christian, illuminating.
Oh, very. Very. Lots of good information to cogitate over.
See how many streamers jump on this now.
Yeah.
John can. I mean, John, obviously you do Sci-Fi Chronicles 79. You're doing a stream in about an hour or so. You may mention this and discuss it, but anyway, go on. What you're doing on your channel?
Yeah, thanks very much. So I've got coming up at 10 o'clock UK. I've got a live show that's going out, just talking about people on the panel's reactions to the new Superman movie and what their thoughts are on it. Hands up, I haven't seen it yet because my cinema here is being refurbed at the moment, so I'll be listening to them. It should hopefully be spoiler free, so come and listen to that. And then it's just general talk about general entertainment news, and I might drop in about ITV and Disney, but you know, other than that, you know, come and have some fun.
And isn't it funny that as you talk about your love of Doctor Who, the thread is getting excited about Time Lash. There's a we all think to be revising Time Lash as the great, you know, that oh God, why can't they have just Dark Corridors? Paul Darrow. And
Could I
go on?
Could I just say something quickly and just drop in? Could everyone in the chat, if you haven't already, could you like and subscribe to the channel here? Because you wouldn't believe the amount of work Brendan does. And talking to him today, I know that he was up very early today, sort of preparing for the show, and he still makes it work even when he's got the gremlins with the technology. So if you can and just support the channel, that would be great, so that he can keep putting out more good stuff.
Yes, and thank you, John. But we support each other. It's a lovely team here. I mean, I was bricking it about meeting the source, but Jo here, with her experience, was calming me down. Christian and me talk all the time. We're all will each other on. We're Doctor Who fans, for God's sake. And this is the point. I only do it because I'm passionate about it. I mean, God knows if anybody notices us. It is by the by, isn't it, John?
Yeah.
You have to hope that when you do have content, people repost it, share it. And if they are watching another stream who suddenly says something you did, you say, actually, Sensefear did that, or Sci-Fi Chronicles did that. Because we've missed out a little bit lately, haven't we, John, on that one?
Yeah, have.
Yeah. But anyway, I don't want to outstay my welcome. Christian, always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
John, obviously, you need a break before you do your stream at 10. Talking about Superman. Obviously, Jo has seen Superman, and she will need a break as well because she's a busy lady. Thank you all. Thank you. We'll do this again. But can I just say before I finish, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. we're live. That was the week that was woke, me and Rachel. 7 p.m. tomorrow night live. Bye, everybody.
Take care.